The Golden Age has no shortage of war-driven stories, featuring the likes of our favorite iconic heroes who were around during those times fighting off the evil threat that was the Nazis. The trend of superheroes punching Nazis even got a boost recently after white nationalist rallies plagued certain parts of North America, which is pretty unfortunate that they're still relevant. Depressing facts aside, superheroes played a huge part in the war effort with their inclusion in the media, helping rally hope, faith, and courage in the hearts of those who were fighting to make the world a safer place. So today we're taking a look at those heroes with our top 10 picks for superheroes who fought in World War II. And at number 10, The Flash, Jay Garrick. While Barry Allen is considered by many to be the most iconic Flash, Jay Garrick is the one who started the character's legacy. After the Flash was rejuvenated into Barry Allen during the Silver Age, Jay has made several notable appearances since the introduction of DC's multiverse, which he also helped introduce, including one that took place during a flashback in 2010's Justice Society of America, where he and Green Lantern Alan Scott went on covert missions during World War II. He wore an army version of his suit and punched some Nazis, which is pretty much the norm with almost every single hero on this list. Up next, number 9, Uber by Kieran Gillen. For a different take on superpowered individuals during World War II, Kieran Gillen's Uber tells the story of superheroes who were developed by the Nazis in an alternate World War II timeline. Told from the perspective of these superhuman soldiers, the Allies are forced to defend themselves by creating their own superheroes, and thus begins an arms race in which the nations are trying to create the strongest Ubers, with the superhumans left pondering their own morality. While the 60-issue series received favorable reviews, some critics felt it glorified Nazism and white supremacy. And at number 8, The Fighting Yank. The Fighting Yank was created in 1941 as a patriotic hero, in a similar vein to Captain America and the Shield. First appearing in publisher Netor Comics' Startling Comics number 10, The Fighting Yank was a man named Bruce Carter III, who gained his powers when the ghost of his ancestor Bruce Carter I, who just so happened to be a war hero from the American War of Independence, appeared, and showed him the location of a magical cloak that gave him super strength and invulnerability. Carter wasn't the only Fighting Yank though. Timely Comics, aka The Future Marvel, had their own character of the same name who appeared in Captain America Comics number 17 in 1942, and was a spy who fought Japanese agents in China. And at number 7, The Black Terror. Racial insensitivity was common in many early comics when it came to portraying people of non-white ethnicities, but it became incredibly prominent during World War II. Offensive caricatures of people from Asian countries, primarily Japan, were front and center, depicted as enemies for the patriotic heroes seen on the pages of early mainstream comics. The Black Terror, another hero published by Netor Comics in 1941, was no stranger to this. Terror was a pharmacist named Bob Benton, who created a chemical called formic ethers that transformed him and his young sidekick Tim Roland into the Terror Twins. Much of their heroics involved punching Nazis, Japanese soldiers, and the occasional firing of machine guns. Up next, number 6, The Human Torch. The Human Torch wasn't always the character we know now from the Fantastic Four. Back in 1939, when the character was first conceived, the Human Torch was an android, portrayed as a sci-fi monster who became a hero and led a secret identity as a police officer in New York City. He would team up with his previous nemesis, Namor the Submariner, and his buddy Captain America to fight Axis powers. The character eventually fell into obscurity in the 50s, but was reintroduced after Timely Comics became Marvel, and was rebranded as Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four. And at number 5 is Captain Marvel, aka Shazam. DC's Captain Marvel, otherwise known as Shazam, first appeared in 1940, and managed to outsell the likes of Superman at the time. As per other heroes at the time, Shazam fought off the Axis forces, with covers that read the likes of Forward America and Captain Marvel swats the Japs. Captain Marvel Jr., one of the members of DC's Marvel family, also got in on the wartime effort, being a hero in his own right by fighting off the Nazi threat. But unfortunately for the Captain, his sales steadily declined after World War II. Up next, number 4, Wonder Woman. While the recent Wonder Woman feature film stars Gal Gadot kicking ass in World War I, the iconic heroine is no stranger to the World War II effort. Wonder Woman was introduced in October of 1941 in All-Star Comics number 8, and originally was the Amazon champion who won the right to return Steve Trevor back to the US after his plane crashed on their island. She goes off into the man's world, helping Steve and the USA fight Nazis. Many have compared her to the superhero version of Rosie the Riveter at the time, despite still dealing with quite a solid amount of sexism in her narratives for years to come. Additionally, there was a storyline in her comics that took place during World War II, during Phil Jimenez's Wonder Woman run on issues 184 to 185, that was released in 2002, and featured Diana coming face to face with her wartime self, and the two fought Nazis together, in a story called U-Boats and Dinosaurs. And yes, dinosaurs were involved. Up next, number 3 is Batman. DC was very much on the forefront of rallying the American people in the wartime effort, despite steering pretty clear from featuring war-driven covers, with their most iconic heroes being involved in war stories of their own within the pages, but not ones that were overly explicit at first. So of course, Batman was a huge part of this effort in general, and was depicted often partaking in acts that involved helping on the home front, from donating paper, selling war bonds and stamps, growing victory gardens, and partaking in other patriotic but retrospectively slightly ridiculous acts, like riding giant eagles, throwing baseballs at Axis leaders to promote bonds and stamps once again, shooting machine guns, and of course sitting on top of a cannon in all of its phallic glory. Much of this was done alongside Robin and Superman in World's Finest. Batman was even used as propaganda after the war to continue selling war bonds too. In at number 2, Captain America. Captain America was introduced by literally punching Hitler. He made his debut a year prior to the US even joining the war. Since he was one of the patriotic characters that were in flux at the time, he got his own solo title as opposed to being introduced in an anthology first. Cap built a reputation of fighting Axis powers, and soon became a fan favorite, and one of the only patriotic heroes who actually had any longevity post-war, despite being cancelled in 1954 before being revamped in the Silver Age. And finally, in our number 1 spot is Superman. During World War II, Superman was a major propaganda figure, which, depending on what side of the political spectrum you sit on, is either kind of ironic if you consider the fact that Clark Kent is actually an illegal alien, like literal alien, or really wonderful, showing how powerful and welcoming the American identity can be. All of that aside, Superman very much stood for a lot of ideals that have been dissected years afterwards concerning patriotism, nationalism, and masculinity, all within the World War II timeframe, and how it impacted years later, mainly because of Superman's prominence in North American pop culture at the time. This is also fascinating since, as we mentioned before, DC also tried to reduce the number of war stories in their comics prior to the US becoming involved in the war after Pearl Harbor. So in the comics, Clark Kent purposely failed his eye exam after he was drafted so he could work as Superman covertly in the war. Despite that introduction, more war-driven stories appeared in the Superman cartoons and radio shows than in the comics themselves. And when DC did start using certain war narratives in their comic strips, sometimes the fictional bombs in Superman storylines were too closely written to the things going on in real life, and printing his comic strips were seen as security threats and were pulled by the Defense Department, fearing that they would be intelligence leaks. Superman also went beyond just kicking Nazi butt though. The character was used to promote literacy in the army, helping provide soldiers an engaging learning avenue that would help foster skills after the war ended, which is pretty damn cool. Alright, there we have it. Want more superhero World War II lists? Let us know in those comments below. And if you dug this video, show us some love and hit those like and subscribe buttons. And why not check out our top 10 superheroes playlist on our channel for more nerdy videos. In the meantime, thanks for watching. I've been Kelly Pally and this has been Top 10 Nerd. I'll catch you all in the next one.